I watched a lot of films this year. Well, not as many as I did last year, or the year before that, or the year before that. This year, I watched 16 movies in theaters, 17 movies at Toronto International Film Festival, 7 movies at the Hot Docs Film Festival, 8 films I got as a press screener, 4 of the films were a press screening, and the last 4 I watched on streaming, totaling to 57 movies seen this year. Maybe I didn't watch that many movies, but I saw a lot of what I wanted from directors I loved or discovered this year. With that being said, let's get into some honorable mentions that did not make my top 20. Drive Away Dolls is an underrated, entertaining comedy. Baby Girl has a great club scene. Civil War had great IMAX sound. A Real Pain has a great Kieran Culkin. We Live in Time made me cry a lot. Sugarcane is an important documentary you should watch on Disney Plus right now. Love Lies Bleeding is a really well-made film, and Twisters was a blockbuster everyone could enjoy. Wicked was my introduction to the musical, and the songs are amazing. It's simple but effective storytelling, while it does have something to be desired as far as the visuals go. Queer has the second best trip scene this year. It's beautifully shot, creative, great casting for Drew Starkey and Daniel Craig, who are both great, creates a really unique and captivating atmosphere. The final act is certainly disconcerting, but it's a unique experience worth taking. Friendship is one of the best comedies of the year, especially for those who love Tim Robinson. It also features the best trip scene of the year. Black Box Diaries is an important, really well-made and edited doc about a woman who has to take justice into her own hands without violence and simply muster the courage to stand up and speak out and make it known to the world. My Sunshine is a short but slow burn film that I can't really say has any flaws. It is a simple story of love, connection, and prejudice done well with a gorgeous sense of visuals. Sperm World is one of the most beautifully shot docs I have ever seen. It has some really profound moments. It is perhaps too weird for its own good and a bit long at points, but everyone should see it. DD makes me really excited to see Shang Wang's next film. Here he captures a specific coming-of-age experience really well. There's great music, and the performances are great with a satisfying, humorous, real story. Nosferatu features a great ensemble, with Lily Rose Depp and Willem Dafoe being the standouts. This is the Eggers film I probably can look into the least. It's really well done though, and the visual choices pay off in a rewarding way. Hard Truths is a really funny film featuring a great performance from Marion Jean-Baptiste. The film is also able to balance great comedy with an underlying sense of darkness that all the characters have to confront by the end. It's an effective story that is memorable for great reasons. Furiosa is the best action movie of the year. I like the change in story structure, even if it means that it won't maximize what George Miller does best. The Brutalist has a great and memorable score. The theme from the first scene is especially amazing. The first scene in general is amazing, maybe the best scene of the year. Certainly the strongest opening scene of the year. Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, and Guy Pearce are both excellent. Some ideas in the film are not fully addressed, and one of the biggest changes in the narrative is a coincidence, so doesn't make my top 10. Cocina, also known as The Kitchen, is a Spanish-language film from Mexican director Alonso Ruiz Palacios. Set in New York City, the script is adapted from a play that follows Pedro, a cook who is in a toward relationship with Julia, played by Rooney Mara. All of the performances in the film are excellent, and the film is often able to find interesting emotional visuals that fit naturally with the story, but also have profound symbolic meaning. This film is able to cover issues like love, lust, immigration, America, and the restaurant industry with thoughtful storytelling. It's really well shot and has some really memorable moments. This competes with The Brutalist for having one of the best long takes of the decade, and it combines some really impressive practical effects. It's a wonder to behold. Check it out if you can. Conclave is another really fun film that I got to watch with a TIFF press crowd. It's a purposely melodramatic and silly film at times that is still able to deliver real questions about something as serious as faith and the power that people have to control those who have faith. The best ensemble of the year, one that kept me constantly questioning what would happen, and most of the time, especially by the end, I was surprised. Really well edited, shot, and scored. Here I think the score works even better than All Quiet and is a bit more varied. There are other memorable music themes that are going to be stronger from this year, and it probably won't win the Oscar because of this, but great music. It's a film I think I'd recommend to anyone. Presence makes you constantly intrigued by what you witness. The gimmick for the film works in tandem with the story so well, and the point of the story is actually tied to the gimmick. Without the way this film is shot and presented, the story would not work. Great performances from the whole ensemble, especially considering the teenagers actually act like teenagers. I can see the film coming off as a bit simplistic or extreme in one regard, but also covers an important topic, and I think it handles it fairly well. It also has a great reveal that you could blink and miss. Very efficient at just 85 minutes. Anora may not be Sean Baker's strongest film. In fact, it may be his least concise and least theoretically interesting. But seeing this with a TIFF press audience who are all very excited to see the film, who laughed at every joke, makes it Sean Baker's funniest film for me. He makes the setup really funny, but he also makes most of the conflict often very funny. Yura Borisov really grew on me on a second watch, while Karen Karligian was always my standout in a great supporting cast overall, but of course the presence of Mikey Madison in the lead role is really only something I've seen from Leo and something like Wolf of Wall Street, where Mikey's energy and use of cursing is truly unhinged and often hilarious. The final shot does really bring the whole thing together to deliver the theme, but the nature of the story also does not allow that theme to be fully developed, in my opinion. Mark Edenstein should also be contending for an Oscar, but he's probably too hateable overall. All We Imagine Is Light is, to put it simply, a beautiful film. One of the best recent films, like Nomadland or Tree of Life, that is able to take a very slice of life story and make it gorgeous. Director Payal Kabadia is able to so efficiently tell us so much about the characters through fun, small details like a rice cooker, the shots of the city, text messages, and the little looks the characters give one another. In less than 2 hours, you really feel like you get to know the two protagonists super well. It does an amazing job of creating atmosphere, with really well-lit shots, rich and interesting documentary-esque shots of Mumbai, coupled with voiceovers that have a poetic quality to them. The soundscape in different settings really helps capture the places the characters find themselves in. Each character goes through an interesting arc, but the film also restrains itself from ever forcing the story to embrace a conventional structure or turning points. The changes come naturally, and often without the use of dialogue. The use of music in this film is also fantastic. One of the year's best. An achingly human film. The Substance is basically a perfect film. For being only 2 hours and 20 minutes and taking place mostly in 2 locations, it does so much. Really well acted, but you also have to highlight the sound and cinematography, which help deliver the bold, graphic, and hyperbolic tone of the film. One that is certainly not going for subtlety. I mean, the guy who is the misogynistic, creepy executive who doesn't seem to have any empathy, his name is Harvey. Great body horror work here. The makeup and effects are enthralling. It would be a worthy film to be a Best Director winner, frankly. The only critique I have is that it's purposely simple and never really delves into any complex themes. Again, it's not really its fault. It's not what the film is going for. It's a great movie. Hundreds of Beavers is the most impressive feat of the year, frankly. People praise The Brutalist for being made for less than $10 million. This thing should be worshipped for mankind pulling off a film like this for $150,000. It uses every creative and comedic choice to do something fun, and it uses the concept to its fullest extent. It keeps just finding more and more entertaining choices for its characters to make until it reaches a natural conclusion. Watch Hundreds of Beavers. It deserves everyone's support, and it should have made $150 million. Dune Part 2. I've just recently rewatched this, and while it did feel longer than when I was watching in IMAX, the film is certainly never wasting time. When the big moments hit, they hit. From the beautiful shots that I'm sure are going to become iconic, to the moments of triumph for our heroes, the film makes each victory really feel earned, especially when you think of it in the context of the first film. Timothy is amazing, especially in the second half, where he is able to make the Paul we knew from the first part disappear, and he has to be this commanding messiah figure. The build-up to his transformation here is maybe not as interesting or as involved, and while it follows the point that Paul actively doesn't want to be a messiah figure, it doesn't really make his decisions before becoming the messiah as interesting. Luckily, Austin Butler and some really well done action pad out that part of the film, easily making this one of the best films of the year. Bird is one of the most personally affecting movies I saw this year. I believe Bird is an underrated and underwatched film from one of our best auteurs in Andrea Arnold. First, great performances all around. They all really feel like their characters. And while I really did not vibe with Franz Rogowski in passages, here he is so good. I love how this film uses magical realism in a modern setting, while also there isn't anything like dramatic happening in the world. It's not World War II or anything. And this really helps emphasize what I think magical realism is supposed to do, is help all of us feel like we're encountering some magic in our everyday lives, and that it can help us overcome some of the hard things we face, and that a hope in something greater than the often mundane realities that one encounters really creates something special in life. It's really well shot. I love the incorporation of both homemade phone videos and some social media posts within the film that feel natural. There's great use of music, and I've been listening to DC Fontaine's Is It Too Real for Ya for a while. Great film, highly recommend it. Me and my girlfriend started playing tennis because of this movie. This film has everything I want in a film. It's an sexy, interesting, and complex romance that is as graphic as it needed to be. No more, no less. Playing sports, I've always loved sports movies, and this is one that actually captures the experience of playing a sport. From the sweat, to the movement of the camera, the music, and the rapid-paced editing that isn't being used as a crutch to hide inaccurate sporting ability. Anything that is unrealistic or exaggerated is only used to enhance the experience of watching the film. There are some crazy things that happen in this film, and it is able to show you all this while never getting in the way of you being locked into the film. The performances are all amazing, with my personal MVP being Mike Faist, who needs more high-quality roles like this. Luca Guadagnino continues to be one of my favorite working directors, and proves if you give him a great script like he has here, he will deliver something special. It also just feels like one of those films I could throw on at any time and watch the whole thing. Not too many of those this year, to be honest.